Alright, what is up my friends? Welcome, complete set review for Modern Horizons 3. That's right, complete set review. And we got a lot of cards to go. We do every single card in the set, constructed and limited. We do white and blue already. Go watch us on YouTube if you missed it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on YouTube as well, because support the content, right? That's what we're here for, right? Support the content, check it out, like, comment, subscribe to all the buttons. And we got a lot of things coming up as well. We also have freaking, we got 10 new brews coming up tomorrow on my birthday. I turned 40. That'll be the arena portion with the modern portion on Friday. Also, we got the Bronze Mythic start next Tuesday on release. Look for both of those coming up as well. And we got our awards to give out. We got all our cards to do. But real fast, gotta hear from our sponsors, right? So, we're brought to you by Anthros, all right? I had a freaking awesome time hanging out with Anthros at DreamHack. They had an awesome booth. I had to hang out. I had to meet like the whole team. I already knew Ashley and a few folks. So I had to meet a bunch of other folks as well. We recorded some content. I did a meet and greet there on Friday. It was super cool. And great company. Makes a phenomenal chair. Just super high quality. It's just awesome. It's funny. In my meet and greet, I like sat down in one of the chairs of the meet and greet. I had half an hour of talking to people. And I had a break. I kind of leaned back and I'm like, oh yeah. I'm my chair. I'm home. This is great. So check them out. Great company, Anthros. Use promo code JimDMTG for $200 off your order on Anthros.com. Please use the link in the description or the comments because they track my links obviously and stuff like that too, and it helps support me. All right, check them out. Anthros, great company. Let's go with our set review here though. All right, let's start out here with Accursed Marauder. We got a common 2-mana 2/1. When it ETBs, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. It's kind of like the little baby child of Fleshbag Marauder. And, yeah, not really the most exciting card, honestly. The Fleshbag Marauder kind of creature is often not that great. There is kind of a sacrifice theme alongside Black-White modified. So, like, there is some bit of a theme there. But, honestly, this card's kind of meh, you know? Like, it can just be an edict. You know, they play a creature, you play this thing, and just kill it, which is fine. But, overall, not very exciting, you know? Kind of a fringe limited card, you know, kind of archetype maybe if you're kind of working on archetype or whatever, but overall seems kind of unexciting. For 2-mana, it could do worse, but I don't know. It doesn't seem particularly great to me. Constructed, obviously not. Arcbound Condor. I mean, maybe constructed. I don't know. I do love Fleshbag Marauder. Now I think about it a little bit more. You know, if you have Gravecrawler in this card, and you kind of just like keep doing that over and over again. I don't know. Maybe the card's got little legs. I think I love Fleshbag Marauder so much, but I've been like hurt a lot by like trying to play it, having it be awful all the time. So I don't know. I'm not sure. This card's better than it looks. Next up is Arcbound Condor. 4-mana 4/8 0/0. It's got Modular 3. Modular is an old ability where it comes into play with that many counters, and when it dies, you can move those counters onto another artifact creature. Think Arcbound Ravager and friends. The modular ability. Also has whenever another artifact ETBs under your control, target creature and opponent control gets -1/-1 to end of turn. So, of course, Black-Red is the archetype for artifacts in limited in a set. So, kind of weird though, because again, as I mentioned earlier, there are the limited archetypes. The Jeskai colors care about energy. The Abzan colors care about modified. Then you have some weird one-ofs. We have like Dimir cares about card draw, Red, Green, and Blue Green care about Eldrazi, and then Red, Black cares about artifacts. Not a lot of cross synergy, though, between that and other artifact things. So it seems kind of insular, where, like, if you're playing artifacts, you have to be Rakdos. That being said, this is a pretty awesome card, right? 50 flyer for 3, which is a good rate. They kill it, its power goes somewhere else, and it has an ability on top of that. So this is a very, very good uncommon for if you're the artifact deck. But not going to be as exciting if you're not, because modular won't do anything. So, good draft card in the archetype. Otherwise, is what it is. Boggart Trawler. Someone cue the Bog Monday theme, right? This card's awesome. So, of course, there are the MDFCs in this set, which are lands in the back and spells in the front. And this is a really, really good one. 2-mana for a 3/1. EDB, exile target player's graveyard, and it's a goblin. All right, so even without being a goblin, this card's fine. As far as the graveyard hate card goes, this is a main deckable graveyard hate card that you can just play as a land, you know, kind of Bajuka Bog style. But you can just cast it if you need to. And the land, of course, has the mythic text of can come and untap for 3 life as well. So very, very low opportunity cost to play this card in your deck if you're playing black. But if you're playing goblins, there's a freaking goblin matron target, right? Like, that's awesome. It's just a land in your goblin deck that's also a Tormod script you can matron for. That's pretty awesome. So, unfortunately, goblins is pretty bad in Modern these days. You know, just not really up to the task of beating all the Modern Rising cards. They have not really given us many new goblins. But this card is pretty awesome. Really, really great card. For limited, this card's fine too. It's a 3/1 or a land. Cool. That's totally reasonable. So definitely an awesome card. Super awesome for goblins in various formats where that is relevant. And then just a fine card in general. The Boggart Bog. Breathe Your Last. Breathe Your Last what? Black 1 instant murder. Hero's Downfall. And then gain a life for each of its colors. So this is just your common rule spell for limited. Hero's Downfall is pretty good. A little life gain. It's good. It's good high limited pick. Good rule spell. Nothing crazy. Buried Alive. Ew, I like this one. This one's freaking great. So again, we have our bonus sheet here of cards that are new to Modern. Okay, so these cards are cards that are already the reprints, obviously, but not currently in Modern. This is a card from Weatherlight. Sees a decent amount of play in Legacy, and this is a 3-mana sorcery. Search for 3 creature cards, put them in your graveyard, then shuffle. So this card is, it's a lot worse than Entomb. It's funny, it was in the same set as Entomb. I'm sorry, it wasn't. Never mind. It was in Odyssey, but wasn't first printed there. Whereas Entomb, you want to get one big thing, Grizzlebrand or whatever else, and reanimate it. This one gets 3 things. So works particularly well with Arclight Phoenix. It's a really, really good one. Bloodghast and Friends maybe. Vengevine can do it too. So pretty powerful card. Pretty sweet. Is it a fun build around? Yes. Is it super powerful? I don't know if it's like super powerful, but it's definitely a really cool card. One of those cards that we're just happy to have in our toolbox as deck builders. So the card's great. In limited, don't play this card. But yeah, really cool card to have for constructed in Modern. And it'll do some cool things for sure. Speaking of cool things, the graveyard. Chthonian Nightmare. Scary. 2 mana for enchantment. When ETBs, you get 3 energy. You may pay X energy, sack a creature, and return this to your hand. To return a creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield as a sorcery. So we have the energy fixed version of Recurring Nightmare. Recurring Nightmare, one of the cooler cards of all time. Definitely power crept out a little bit, but still a very powerful effect. Now, it's important to note, though, that while Recurring Nightmare can return anything, return some big idiot, this can only return small things unless you're making other energy waves, right? So this can return a 3-drop or less. Sorry, X. Return a 3-drop for the amount that you pay. So you could keep returning a 1 or 2-drop and gaining energy each time. You can make energy other ways. But if you want to get something back that's big, this can't do that as well. But the fun play pattern of Recurring Nightmare is often just sack this value creature, get another value creature, sack this value, and you can't keep looping and stuff like that too. So it does those things pretty well, and then it also makes the energy too. So it's a cool card. I'm not sure what deck would want this card because energy is a new mechanic, and it's kind of interesting for sure. But it's powerful, it's cool, it's fun, it'll be cool and limited, and then of course, with all your ETB effects or whatever else it might be, card sweet. Don't know where it goes, but definitely a cool callback. Next up, speaking of callbacks, is Consuming Corruption. Black instant, X damage to your Planeswalker, and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. So this is just corrupt, or I guess not corrupt, the other one, the Tendrils of Corruption, but it costs 2. So pretty sweet card, right? 2 mana, this is a small lightning helix. They can only target creatures or Planeswalkers, and then it scales up as time goes on. That being said, most mono black decks aren't particularly great in that regard. This could go fine in the Urborg decks, but you gotta have Urborg in play to make this card good then. I don't know. Definitely a good limited card. Kind of a fun card to have exist. Folks love this sort of mono black thing. Probably not particularly great, but hey, folks love it, so. Next up is Crabomination. Yeah. Crabomination. 6 mana for a Crab Demon, 5/5, has Emerge from Artifact. So Emerge is an ability where you can sacrifice a creature, in this case an artifact, and then pay the difference in mana value. And I believe you can do it, it's a sorcery, never mind. So you sacrifice an artifact, you pay the difference. So the Emerge cost is 7. If I were to sack the 1 ring, this will cost black 1 and the sack of the 1 ring, okay? When ADB, target opponent exiles the top card of your library, a card at random from their graveyard, and a card at random from their hand. You may cast a spell among those cards exiled this way without paying its mana cost. This is a really powerful ability, obviously. Playing your opponent's spells for free is great. Playing a spell for free is great anyway, right? So we just get to play a random spell. Big question here is, what are we sacrificing? You know, what kind of artifact can we sacrifice to make this thing kind of cheap? And so on and so forth. Kind of a weird, you know, like, now we're playing a black deck that's also playing artifacts that you want to sacrifice, but also wants a value 5/5. It's like a weird, you know, what deck does that want to go in? I'm not really sure, honestly. But that being said, the effect is pretty powerful. The body's pretty big. Obviously, a great limited card. Just freaking cast it. 6 mana, cast this card. Limited is insane. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Kind of a cool card. Not sure where it goes. Sacking the Ring is pretty sweet. That's kind of a cool way to do it. Yeah, that's really it. It's a cool card. The Dreadmobile. They're meant for a 3/3 menace vehicle. Pay 1 to sack an artifact or creature, but a counter on this, and then crew for 1. So, interesting sack outlet. Kind of weird, you know. I feel like this card should cost 2. At 3 mana, I mean, like, there are obviously things to sacrifice. This card's going to play kind of awkward in the Rakdos artifact decks because you want to have your artifacts in play for, like, affinity and stuff like that, too. So, kind of weird. And then the only other sacrificey stuff in the set is kind of like black-white modified sacrifice. And this is just a sacrifice and modify a creature, I suppose. But, I don't know. It seems like kind of a fringe limited card to me. It doesn't seem very exciting. Vehicles tend to be not that great limited anyway. So, yeah. I don't know. Dream Drinker Vampire. 2 mana for a 2/1. This is a vampire with lifelink and adapt 1. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Abzan Sphere of Colors cares about a lot of modified stuff. So, each pair has kind of unique takes on it, where like green-white's like beatdown, green-black is like grindy, adapty stuff, and then black-white is all about sacrificing stuff. But there are a lot of cards with this templating of adapt 1, which is to pay a cost and get a counter if you haven't done it already. And then when you put counters on it, you get to do something. So for example, this thing, you can adapt it for 2 mana, make it a 3/2 lifelink, and when you do this, it gains menace on a turn. So this one, if you keep putting counters on it, will keep menacing, which is kind of cool. But there are much better ones as time goes on. That makes this card's good. It's a good limited card. You know, cheap. Lifelinkers are always great and limited. Good solid limited card for sure. Drawsclaw, 2 mana for a living weapon. Again, this is a equipment that comes into play with a 0/0 germ on it. So it comes. This is a 1/1 when it comes into play. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses a life. Equipped for 2. So it's a 1/1 that can hit for 1 when it attacks. Not a particularly great body, honestly. And then like you can move it around and stuff, which is like okay. But I think the front side of his cards is just like too bad to be that be playable. It is a modified creature you can sacrifice for value in those decks, which is kind of cool. But overall, kind of just a weak card. I don't think this card's very good. Emperor of Bones. Folks, we got our sleeper card here, alright? King Leoric himself. 2 mana for a 2/2 Skeleton Noble. Beginning of combat in your turn, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Pay 2, adapt 2. So it's 2 mana, add 2 counters to it if it has no counters on it. And then whenever 1 or more counters are put onto this card, put a creature card, exile with this card, onto the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it. It gains haste, and sack it at the beginning of the next end step. So, this card does a lot of cool things, right? So, obviously you can exile things from your opponent's graveyard and steal them. That's cool, right? Oh, graveyard hate, and so on and so forth. It sizes well. It's 2/2. It can be a 4/4 for 2 mana. Cool. But the important thing here is that, like, this is just a way to sneak attack cards out of your graveyard, right? So you can go turn 1, find some way to put a card in the graveyard. Turn 2, play this. Turn 3, adapt and attack. There's your Traxa, or whatever else it might be, too. So, that's pretty awesome. Pretty powerful effect. The card's just good. You know, it's just a good, solid card. You know, it's fine if you're just playing it fairly. It's great if you're building around it. It does both also. Card's awesome. Card's really, really cool. Big fan of Emperor Bones here. Obviously a phenomenal limited card. And then the trick is, if you can keep putting counters on it, you can keep doing it, which is great. You know, adapt only works once. It only works if there's no counters on the creature. But if you have other ways to add counters to this, you can just keep doing it over and over again, which is great too. So I think this card's sneakily very powerful. Emperor Bones, awesome card. Again, phenomenal limited card too. Really, really cool. Sleeper card for black is Emperor of Bones. Up next is Etched Slith. Again, the Sliths return. There's one in white also. And again, real deep cut for my Magic boomers out there. I mean, the Sliths. But
Who's in charge? Me or the devil?
2 mana, 1/1 menace. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a counter on it. When you do, you may remove a counter from another target, permanent, or opponent. So this is one of the rare ways to remove energy from someone, which is kind of cool, as well as shrink your opponent's stuff. And yeah, this card's like, okay. It's an artifact, it's cheap. Getting that first act-in shouldn't be too hard with the Menace, and then you can kind of size up reasonably. And yeah, it's a fine card. Also a cheap artifact, very important for Rakdos. It's always important to look at the cards in the set for limited in the context of what their colors care about. And Rakdos is all about artifacts, so any cheap artifact's got to be pretty sweet. Ethereum Terramander. Another cheap, cool artifact card. 1 black for a 1/1 flyer. Can only block flyers. Drawback. What the hell is a drawback? I'll put drawbacks on things.
Inconceivable!
It's got 7 mana, adapt 4. And it costs 1 less for each artifact you control. So obviously very similar to Terramander, where have a bunch of artifacts in play, boom, jam it, now it's a 5/5, pretty sweet. The important thing about this card also, that there are a number of cards that care about affinity and number of artifacts in play. And this card is a cheap artifact that grows later as well. It's a payoff and an enabler, which is absolutely huge in limited. So this is going to be a phenomenally awesome limited card. Card's great. Ethereum Terramander. Eviscerator's Insight, 2 mana for an instant. Additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or a creature. Draw 2, flashback for 5. So not quite Deadly Dispute on the front side. All right. In that no treasure, and so on and so forth. But being able to flash it back is kind of cool. That being said, this is mostly a limited card, right? Like, this is definitely worse than Deadly Dispute. But in limited, you can flash this thing back, which is kind of cool. Again, Blockblade cares about sacrifice. Demir cares about drawing cards. That being said, this card seems pretty bad. I kind of find it hard to imagine you have enough fodder for this card to be good. It does draw cards for blue-black, but, like, I don't know how many things you're going to have as far as stuff. There is a really cool common in blue-black that comes back when you draw cards. Could be a thing. We'll see that later. But, yeah, aside from that, I don't know. Not very good card. Fel the Profane. F's in chat for Haraga Mauling or whatever it was. Aww. Power crept out. We got 4 mana for an instant. I guess not, because that's cheaper if they don't have the non-basic. Whatever. But we got 4 mana for a instant short target creature, Planeswalker. It's also an MDFC. And it also has the pay 3 life thing, too. So this is an untapped black land for 3 life, or tap black land, or a kill spell that can kill creature or Planeswalker. Again, if you're in, like, the oops all spells sort of space, this thing's pretty wild. Yeah, but pretty solid card. It's also the big thing about these cards, aside from just being spells or lands, is that these are spells that have a color. I'm sorry, lands that have a color. So this is a land. You could also pitch to Grief, which is kind of cool too. So yeah, better than it looks. Phenomenal limited card, obviously. Just getting a cool spell. And yeah, it's a good one. Felmire. Bolt lands at uncommon. It feels weird, right? But Fetid Gargantuan. More of the same for Golgari here. Golgari modified, cares about putting counters on things and making effects off that. 5 mana for a 4/4. Pay 3, adapt 2. Add 2 counters to it. Whenever 1 or more counters are put on it, lose 2, draw 2. So you can keep adding counters to this. You can keep drawing cards. Pretty awesome. And then the base level rate's also pretty good too. So good solid draft common. A little clunky, but powerful. Flare of Malice is the black pitch spell. Of course, the pitch spells in the set are the flares, where the pitch condition is to sacrifice a creature of that color. This is probably the easiest flare to use, in that black creatures are the most expendable without being tokens. Gravecrawler, Bloodcast, Stitch Supplier, etc., etc. And this is just an edict for the biggest thing they have. Pretty powerful. Honestly, you can kill Planeswalkers or creatures. Kind of weird that, like, it's not great if you're sacrificing a real creature, but if you're sacrificing a Gravecrawler or a Bloodcast or whatever, pretty sick, honestly. So, card's pretty good. And a little better than it looks, honestly. A little less flashy than some of the other ones, but still pretty good. And then Unlimited, you probably just cast this card. You don't need to pitch it, obviously. It's a good limited card, too. Grave-Dig. Get it? It's Gravedigger, but it's a spell. It's 2 mana for a Raise Dead or a 2/2 zombie, and you can entwine it and choose both and get an actual Gravedigger, right? Let's hear it for the design here. That being said, Gravedigger is not as good as it used to be. Still a good draft card, though. Like it. Grim Servant. 4 mana for a 3/2 menace with ETBs. Search library for a card with mana value less than or equal to your devotion to black. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and lose 3. Lose 3 is a lot. Unfortunately, that is definitely a pretty serious drawback here. 4 mana for a tutor that loses 3 life is not super great and also requires devotion in play. Don't think this card really gets there. It's kind of a cool idea, right? If you're playing like a devotion-y black deck, having a creature that can go tutor for stuff, but it's a lot of life, you know? A lot of life, and I think that other black cards will cost life too, so it's going to add up. Grim Servant, I don't know. Not huge on it, but yeah, card's okay. And limited, his card seems fine if you're looking for a bomb or whatever, but I think his card's just a little iffy. Keurig, Son of Yawgmoth. And this is a new to modern card. This is a popular commander card. 4 Phyrexian black, Phyrexian black, Phyrexian black. Lifelink. For each black in a cost, you may Phyrexianize it. Or you cast a black spell, put a counter on this. So this is a weird card because it's obviously a commander card that's being put into modern. It's new to modern. But commander players have 40 life and modern players have 20 life. So a little bit of a difference there, you know. It's also only a 2/2 for 4 or more. You obviously can cast more spells for free and kind of go off like that. But 2 life for spell and 20 life is kind of rough. This feels most like commander reprint and nothing else. In limited, also pretty rough too. So yeah, I mean 40 life, sure, but not big on that one. Kami of Jealous Thirst, 3 mana for a 1/3 Death Touch. 6 mana to drain for 2. But if you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, it's free. But only once turn. So this is a pretty awesome card, right? A 1/3 Death Touch for 3 is a fine blocker. And if you're playing that Dimir kind of extra card draw kind of deck, you just ever draw 3 cards in a turn, bam, drain for 2, free, drain for 2. And if you're flooded, you draw cards. I mean, you just do this anyway. So I think this card's great. The card's really cool. Cool mana sink. Cool ways to kind of keep you alive while you're drawing cards. Good blocker. Cool draft card. I think mostly for the blue-black archetype in particular, but card's kind of nice. Lethal Throwdown. 1 black sorcery. Sack creature, kill a creature. If you sacrifice a modified creature, you draw a card. So again, black-white cares about sacrificing modified creatures. A very, very weird, obscure theme. But this card is a very obvious kind of ham-fisted look at that, right? Have modified creature, sacrifice it, draw a card. There you go. Gonna be a very good limited card in that deck. Otherwise, just the Bone Splinters, which is fine in some spots too. And yeah, it's not exactly a complicated card, so move on. Marionette Apprentice, 2 mana for a 1/2. That's got Fabricate 1. That means that you can either put a +++ counter on it or make it a 1/1 artifact creature. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So we have kind of like half a Blood Artist plus a Token Maker. Pretty sweet, honestly. This card's pretty nice. I could see possibly some sort of Aristocrats deck wanting this. You know, a 1/2 and a 1/1 is not bad at all. In Yawgmoth, having a creature that's like 2 bodies for 1 to convoke is kind of cool. Also, it counts artifacts and creatures. So any sort of like infinite loop you have that can loop killing an artifact or creature, this will be a win condition for that also. Card's cool. Definitely a card that could see play. Has combo potential. Yeah, for sure. And then limited card is great, right? Just like 2 bodies, some life loss. Card sweet. Mindless Conscription, 3 mana for an enchantment. EDBs, and whenever you draw your 3rd card a turn, amass zombies 3. So 3 mana get a 3/3, which is great. That's a very, very solid floor. And then if you're playing a Dimir deck, are you able to draw extra cards or whatever? It could be a 6/6 and a 9/9. It's obviously not easy to draw 3 cards in a turn. But that's what the Dimir deck wants to do. And the floor here is very reasonable. So this is a good uncommon for the Dimir deck. In limited, not much else. The kind of card where if you table it, you know your deck's open. Nadir's Nightblade, 3 mana for a 1/3 elf warrior. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, you drain for 1. Kind of similar to the other Blood Artist card, right? But if you're playing tokens, you have to drain. Important to note this counts for clues, treasures, and other things, which is kind of cool. And I'm sure there's like some infinite combos with this card as well. Like a cool commander card also. It is you control, doesn't count their stuff, but still quite powerful. And obviously in commander it's each opponent too, which is pretty good too. So yeah, cool card. Good limited card for playing tokens, though not a lot of tokens going on the set. But yeah, kind of card that might be a combo card. Oh boy, Necro Dominance.
It's a trap!
Yeah, I'm going to call trap on Necro Dominance. And I'm not really sure if I'm going to regret this or not. But we have the fixed Necropotence, alright? Black, 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 a legendary enchantment. You skip your draw step. Beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life if you do draw many cards. Max hand size of 5. I'm not sure why they kept the stupid, like, if a card or token would put in your graveyard, exile it. like rider text on this card. That's like the weirdest part of Necro, honestly. But yeah. So I think this card is pretty powerful. I think that in Modern, where there's no Dark Ritual, it just isn't that exciting. You know, what deck wants to play this card exactly? And then, like, if you're paying life to draw cards, you can just play the One Ring. You know, like, right? Like, so, like,
Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
I don't know. Obviously, it is cheaper, but requiring black on black is a big deal. It also draws cards, unlike Necro, so it's bad against Bowmasters and Narset and things like that because it's actually drawing cards. Same with Shoulder and Friends too. So like, I just like don't really see a place for this card. Obviously, the draw on end step is similar to Necro, where like it's the same kind of thing where you draw on your end step. Max hand size of 5 is like, you know, I guess it's like not that big of a deal, but. You know, I don't know. You know, life loss is kind of scary. Probably playing Thoughtseize, fetch lands, maybe shock lands if you're playing another color. I'm not feeling it. I just think this card's not going to do very much. It's a cool card. It's definitely pretty sweet. And I think it will see maybe some play overall. But also, the thing about Necro is it's very good at pitch spells. And while Grief is very good, that's really it. The other two black pitch spells aren't very good. As far as, I guess, like the Edict ones are kind of okay. But you gotta sacrifice creature. Not a pitch, not a pitch spell. So yeah, so I think this card is just not that good. A lot of hype. I think it's undue. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And then in limited, I mean, if you can cast this card on turn 3 limited, it's probably okay, but it's risky. Don't forget, folks, when you cast this card, you skip your draw step. So like once you get down to not being able to play life anymore, like you're done. You're the game's over. You're locked out. So it's a very, very real thing. But yeah, that's what I got. Trap card, Necro Dominance. Up next is Nether Goyf. Now we're going best in show here. And I'm not completely sure about this one either. But I think this card compares pretty nicely to a card like Death Shadow. And those kind of like super cheap, you know, Mishra's Bauble kind of decks. 1 black for a Tarmogoyf that only cares about your graveyard. And then it has Escape 3, where you can exile 4 different types of cards from your graveyard and play it back from your graveyard, which is kind of cool. So I think that, you know, Mishra's Bauble, Dragon Rage Channeler, you know, Ragavan, kind of decks like that, you know, which usually play Death Shadow, can kind of like skip that whole Shadow thing, stop playing Street Wraith, not worry about like freaking killing themselves, and just kind of play a wide variety of threats with Ragavan and Channeler and Bauble and Thoughtseize and removal spells and stuff. And just have this like 1 mana 4/5, which is pretty sick. And then if the game goes super long, you can buy it back too. So I think this card's kind of gas. 1 mana is pretty cheap, and it's not hard to have this thing be like a 3/4 on turn 2, or even a 4/5, which is very good for a 1-drop. And it scales up, has a lot of value also. I think this card's kind of sweet. Nether Goyf's pretty awesome. And then it is obviously bad against Graveyard Hate, but like you can just not board it out, or I don't know, play otherwise win the game or whatever, you know. So I think the card's sweet. Could be wrong here. I'm not completely convinced, but I think this card's pretty awesome. There you go. Best in show in black. And limited, this card's great because, you know, it'll pretty easily be a 2/3 or 3/4. You can buy it back possibly. Yeah. I think it's, you know, mostly predicated on Dragon Rage Channeler and Mishra's Bauble being cards. But yeah, card sweet. Nether Goyf is our best in show for black. Up next is a Phenomancer. I do love Phenomancer, all right? Me and Phenomancer, we go way back. This card's been in my cube for a decade now at this point, and it's an awesome, awesome card. 2/2 for 3. Every upkeep, if you don't have a snake, you make a snake token with Death Touch. Very powerful card. Probably not good enough in Modern, realistically. It is a 2/2 for 3, you know, but a really awesome card. Makes infinite fodder, infinite blockers. You can sack the snake on your turn, get a snake on their turn. Pretty cool also. Card's sweet, you know, like it's a really, really awesome card. It's already in Historic, doesn't really see any play, so I kind of doubt it'll see much play in Constructed, but I love this card. It's awesome. It's a super cool card. A great limited card. Probably close to unbeatable if you can't kill it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a fan. I love this card. I'm a sucker. What can I say? Quest of the Necropolis, 1 black for an enchantment. It's got landfall. Whenever a land EDP's under your control, put a quest counter on this. Spend 6 mana and sacrifice this to put a creature from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. Costs 1 less to activate for each quest counter on this, only as a sorcery. So obviously, fetch lands are the big deal here, right? Play this, play fetch lands, 2 counters. Excuse me. It's kind of funny. It's a quest that doesn't actually require you to beat the quest. You know, like usually quests require you to like hit a certain threshold and then you can use it. This you can use it immediately if you have 6 mana. I mean, play this on 1, fetch land on 2, fetch land on 3, 2 mana to get back or whatever. It's kind of cool. This can be a pretty cheap reanimate effect, but it's a lot of work. It's kind of awkward. And if you draw it like on turn 4, it's like super dead too. So probably not worth the squeeze, honestly. But it's kind of a cool card, you know. And limited, probably not really a thing either. So this is a card like most quest cards probably just falls short because it's just too bad if you draw it on turn 4. But yeah, card's cool. Refurbished Familiar, really good common. Very, very close to Bombin Common. Didn't win it, but it's awesome. 4 mana for a 2/1 flyer with affinity for artifacts. Also a zombie rat artifact. Which is cool. When it ETBs, opponent discards a card. If they can't, you draw a card. So 2/1 flying Ravenous Rat with affinity is awesome. And then if they can't have any cards in hand, you just draw a card. So that having that failsafe in there is huge. This card's great. You know, obviously, specifically in red-black, they fly now. They fly now. In red-black specifically, where you're playing on artifacts, this is going to cost like 2 mana or 1 mana, which is an amazing rate for a 2/1, 2-for-1. Pretty awesome. So, card's great. It's good draft common. Obviously, specifically for red-black. If you are not red-black, you're probably not playing this card. The card's great. Super, super awesome. Love it. Great common. Big deal. Big deal. Retrofitted Transmigrant, or whatever. 1 mana for a 1/1. Artifact zombie. Send 4 mana and bring it back from the graveyard tap with 2 counters on it. This card's a big deal for the black-white decks, which care about sacrificing modified creatures. This is a creature you can sacrifice that comes back modified. You can keep doing it. And it's decent size too, right? I think it's a 3/3, which is pretty awesome. So, good draft card. You know, kind of fits well in your sacrifice themes. Will play well also in black-red, like artifacty stuff. It's a cheap artifact for affinity that can come back later. But yeah, definitely cool draft card. You gotta know where you want it. Nothing too crazy here. Ripples of Undeath. 2 mana for an enchantment. Beginning your pre-combat main phase, mill 3. Then you may pay 1 mana and 3 life. If you do, put a card from among those cards into your hand. It's sort of like a Sylvan Library, right? Just pay a lot of life and get cards. It also mills cards for graveyard stuff too. That being said, this card is not a super great mill enabler, nor is it a good card draw engine, making it kind of bad at both. So I don't think this card's very good. 3 life is a lot for a card, and then obviously not milling very well either. So I don't know. You know, I think if it was 2 life or no mana, it'd be a lot more exciting. But yeah, not really too big on this card. And limited, I think this card's really, really sketchy. So Scurrilous Sentry. 4 mana for a 2/3 menace. Whenever it ETBs or attacks, it connives. So connive, of course, means to draw and discard. Discard a creature, a spell card, put a counter on it. This plays very well with the Dimir deck. It wants to care about drawing extra cards. This can be a way to draw more cards. Attack with this, add some counters, yada yada yada. Pretty cool. Connive's obviously a very good ability. Being able to do it over and over again is pretty awesome too. And card sizes up pretty well. Mostly a Dimir card, I think. Doesn't really fit well in the other black archetypes. Oh, I'm sorry, it is modified too, I guess. So it is a black modified card as well. But yeah, good common. It's fine. Not super exciting, but I think it's alright. I can't say that. Shilgengar, Sire of Famine. 5 mana, 6/6 flying creature. Sacrifice another creature, make a blood token. Sacrifice an Angel of a Sway, create a number of blood tokens equal to toughness instead. Then black-white hybrid 3 times, sacrifice 6 blood tokens, return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, and they are all vampires. This feels like your kind of typical, like, absolutely busted limited cards, unbeatable, that will just see no play constructed at all. Couldn't fathom a modern deck that want to play this card. Just 5 mana 6/6. It doesn't win the game on the spot. But in limited, just an absolute house. Yeah, whatever. Finality counter means that if a creature would die, it gets exiled instead. So you can't keep like looping them. Soren of House Markov, the freaking petulant teenager.
Yeah.
I want to go to my room and go on my phone. 2 mana for I was nothing about that. 2 mana for a 1/4 lifelink extort. Extort means to pay whenever you play a spell. You can play a black or a white and then drain for 1. But in your post-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, exile it and then flip it. This, of course, is the Flip Walker. This is the black Planeswalker. This is pre and post Spark. So you gain some life, flip it over. What do you get? You get Soren Ravenous Neonate. 3 loyalty Planeswalker, has Extort as a passive. +2 make a food. And it's funny because, like, making a food seems kind of, not black-whitey. And then Carmen on Twitter was like, well, what if the food dragon was just a dude? You know, like, just chomping on a dude, drinking some blood. That's food, right? Food's a relative term, all right? So make a food token. -1, it deals damage equal to the amount of life you've gained this turn to any target. -6, gain control of a creature, becomes a vampire, put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than that creature or Soren. So, kind of weird in that, like, there isn't really a life gain deck in Modern, right? As far as gaining life. There are ways to gain life, and this can obviously do it by itself, right? You can go attack for 1, Thoughtseize, Extort, Fatal Push, Extort, flip. Extort, again, is a mechanic where every spell you cast, you can kicker onto it a black or white mana and drain for 1. So, there are a lot of ways to gain life in black and white, obviously, where you can just gain whatever life. And then once you've gained the life, it does cool things. Kind of reminds me of Gumdrop Poisoner, where it's like pretty powerful card who did the life thing, but like who's doing the life thing, So I don't know. It's powerful. A 1/4 lifelink for 2 is a fine body, honestly. Is that a bolt? And extorting's a thing too. Not sure. A lot of these Flipwalkers have the issue of like they're pretty powerful, but I just like don't know what deck would ever want to play them, which is kind of weird. So yeah, so this is busted and limited obviously, because the face value, even just like the front side of this card is good and limited. Just like 1/4 lifelink extort's awesome. And then yeah, so great limited card, but as far as like if you're lifing, not really sure. I don't know. Honestly, all of the walkers are super weird, and like just gotta play with them, figure it out. I'm sure I'll have this card on my 10 new brews, and we'll find out together. Next up is the Creation of Avacyn, Black 1 Saga. Chapter 1, search library for creature card, exile face down. Chapter 2, turn the card face up. If it's a creature card, lose life equal to its mana value. Chapter 3, put the card in the battlefield if it's a creature, otherwise put it in your hand. So this is an interesting card, right? I think this card's actually like sneakily kind of good. This card is a 1-card combo. Just like, play this card, get a Traxa, flip it face up, lose 7, play it for free. So like, that is obviously slow and painful, but you don't need to build your deck around it, right? Just play 4 of this card, 1 Avacyn, 1 other creature. Done. So now you have this little package where the rest of your entire deck can be your Mool spells or counter spells or whatever else, and then this card can just cast your thing. That's pretty cool, Is it good? I don't know. Is it a cool plan B for like creativity decks, something like that already have tracks in their deck? Could be. If your opponent's not attacking you, but life doesn't matter. This card's pretty cool. So I don't know. I think this card's better than it looks. That's kind of like a plan B, but not totally sure. And then in limited, I don't think I would do that, but I don't know. I think this card's better than it looks. We'll see. Toxic Deluge. This is another new to Modern card. Big player in Legacy for a while. 3 mana, black card, sorcery. Pay X. All creatures get -X/-X. Very powerful card. Powerful sweeper. It's cheap. It's effective. Kills indestructible things. Card's good, honestly. Good rare. Toxic Deluge. Probably see play in Modern and other formats. And limited, this card's also excellent. You can size up around it too. Be aware of your left total, obviously, but this is a very powerful card. Victimize. Another cool reprint here. 3 mana for a sorcery. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard and sack a creature. If you do, return both them to the battlefield tapped. So really cool reanimation kind of spell where you can kind of bring back our Sack our Bloodghast, back a Boom Boom. That's kind of cool. It's a little weird and clunky. Might not be good enough, but this card's awesome. Really fun card from Urza Saga. And, yeah, Buried Alive, Victimized, the Boomer reanimation package. So, pretty cool. For limited, it's fine. You know, if you're sacrificing a bad creature, get back to two good creatures, it's fine. Fine limited card. Pretty fun art, too. Right? I actually didn't even, look at the art. That's actually hilarious. Warren Soul Trader. 2 mana for a 3/3 zombie goblin wizard. It's 7 creature types. Pay a life, sack a creature, make a treasure token. This feels like a combo card, right? This gotta be like some sort of loop with this card, probably. I don't know. It's funny because I see this card and I don't see a fun goblin card. I just see some lame combo card. It's either that or nothing. Oh, Gravecrawler, right? Yeah. So you pay a life, sack Gravecrawler, make a treasure, cast Gravecrawler, and a Blood Artist, right? Yeah. So it's just a dumb combo card. I don't like cards like this. It's just a dumb combo card. Okay, cool. They knew what they were doing with this card, obviously. It's not like it's some fun interaction. Just really ham-handed, here's another infinite loop for Modern. So, I don't know. I love Gravecrawler. Not a fan. It's fine unlimited. I'm just mad. I don't know. Wither and Bloom. Folks, we got our Bombin Common. 2 mana, -2, -3. That's cool, right? Last gasp is a fine limited card. But the important part here is 2 mana, exile Wither and Bloom from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control only as a sorcery. So that's fine value regardless, right? Of just cool, kill a thing, later on, get a counter, cool. However, all of the green and black cards give you bonuses for putting counters on them. And then modified is a major thing anyway. So you're getting insane value out of this card. Great common, best black common. Card's awesome. Super synergy with the Golgari stuff. Good card in general anyway. Wither and Bloom is an insane common. Not very constructed, but super awesome. Wormcoil Larva. Get it? It's like Wormcoil Engine, but it's like a little baby one. It's just a little. You get it, right?
You ain't nothing but a petty heartbreaker.
5 mana for a 3/3. Death Toucher lifelink. When it dies, make a 1/2 Death Toucher and a 2/1 lifelinker. Great limited card. That's it. Nothing more. Just great limited card. Artifacts. Good in the artifact deck. Good in regular decks. This card's really good. Lifelink and Death Toucher both great bonus in limited. So there you go. So black. We're all wrapped up. We got Nethergoyf as our best in show. Emperor of Bones is our sleeper card. Necrodominance is our trap card. And Wither and Bloom is our Bombin Common. We're all out there for black, folks. Red is next. Don't go nowhere. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Support the content. All right. Don't forget, of course, we got Tenny Brews coming up tomorrow and Friday. We got Bronze Smith coming up on next week on Tuesday. And then I'm out of here for Amsterdam for the Pro Tour. It's kind of crazy, too. So, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in red. Let's go.